What's up, guys? We got this 2013 Chevy Cruze here today with the glorious Ecotech engine, and we'll be changing out the water pump. The water pump has so much play in it that it's just puking all the coolant out right now. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay guys, so first thing we got to do here, remove this intake. We want to get everything out of the road. Water pump's down here. We have to take the motor mount off, but we got a bunch of stuff in the way. So first things first, this is our mass airflow sensor. We've got a little red locking tab. Unclip it like that. Push the center down, unplug it, and we'll just set that off to the side. And then second thing we have to do, we've got this clamp right here. We're going to take it off. We don't have to take it completely apart, but just loose enough so we can get this off. And then next thing we're gonna do is take all these screws out and remove this top. I'm not too sure if the bottom part of the airbox is fastened down or not, so I'm just going to split it in half basically. Phillips screws. And then we can take our air filter out. And oh, it looks like we got a little hose that's down here. Just pull that out. And we can see we got a rubber grommet down here. And probably just pull it out, I guess. So up on the back and then forwards. That comes out. We can move all this stuff out of the road. I use this silicone spray by Clean Flow. Makes rubber and connectors slippery. They come apart nice. Okay, so we took a floor jack, put a little 2x4 block of wood on it, and we put it up against the bottom of the motor on the oil pan. And we just want to do that so that we can take the weight off of the engine. We need to remove this motor mount so that we can take the belt off and access more of this area. So by using a floor jack and a block of wood, we're able to do that. And yeah, that's just how I do it. Now we got to remove this motor mount, so I believe I'm gonna grab socket and check. I think they're 16s. All right, 15 millimeter. Let's take this nut off. And we'll take these three. Then we can take these two. And this thing should come out. Now we got the engine side cradle. So you can see we've got 2 bolts in here, also 15s by the looks of it. And then I believe there's probably, one more at the bottom, so it forms a triangle. And I'm just gonna wrench those out by hand. I forgot to mention, one thing you guys may want to do is just put like a rag or something over this or cover it. Not saying anything's going to fall down there, but that goes right to the turbo, so probably a good idea. Ooh, oily. Oops. All right, so once we get those bolts off, this top one I could get out. These other ones, I kind of just left the bolts in there because I couldn't get them out against the body, but now we got those out. Set this aside, and now we're pretty much ready to take the belt off. Here's our tensioner, and once we get this belt off, we're gonna check everything too and just make sure that all our pulleys and everything are good, because now is the time to replace it. So I'm gonna grab tools. Let's get this belt off. All right, so The pivot for this tensioner is right here on this bolt. So all you got to do is just literally put an inverse Torx, which is a E14, on the tensioner bolt right here. And we remove tension from the belt and then choose a pulley. I'm going to choose the alternator. We're going to slip this belt off. You can see how saturated in oil this thing's been. It's kind of glazed over, and we obviously have an oil leak going on with all the oil on the side of the motor. That's pretty normal for these Ecotech engines. Take the belt out, set that aside, and now we're ready to start removing some accessories. So here's our water pump right here. You can see how much play this one has, and it's started to puke coolant. That's why the reservoir is empty over there. But it was making a noise. It was very like a metallic-y swooshing noise, so not very good. But you can see I'm just giving this idler on the tensioner a feel and a listen. Sounds pretty good. Also check the AC pulley, that's good. Alternator, that's good. And our harmonic balancer is fine. So we're going to start taking some stuff off of here. We can buzz these three off, and then also this tensioner, we want to get that out of the road. And yeah, let's get to it. All right, so this bolt for the tensioner, that's the main anchor bolt. That's going to be E14. There's another one down at this end of the tensioner, right behind the bottom of the spring. That one is going to be E12. And then these three pulley bolts are all E12. I'm going to use an impact gun for these three because this pulley's going to want to spin. So I need some instant torque. And then these ones you could just wrench out with a ratchet if you want. I'm going to use an air ratchet. Can't push with my thumb. All right, there's our pulley. We need to keep this to transfer it over to the new pump. So we'll set that aside with all the bolts in there. And then let's get this big one out. I'm just gonna break it free with the ratchet first. Just regular right-hand thread, nothing special about these. Now we'll switch over. E12, do the little one behind the spring down here. Now we're gonna swap out for air tools. All right, we got a tensioner there. All right, guys, so we're almost there. You can see we've got coolant hose coming in here with a clamp, and then we've got inside of here is gonna be our thermostat, and we got this coolant hose here. So looks like one clamp here, a couple 10mm bolts, and I might just unplug this just to be safe so that when we take it off, we don't hit this. I don't want to break this off. These are our camshaft actuator. Pretty sure these are our actuator things for VVTi. They could be camshaft position sensors as well. I can't remember. One or the other. Guys, we got the hose clamp pliers on here. And then all we're going to do is loosen them bad boys up. I was hoping I'd get these to lock. Yeah, that ain't working as good as I thought it was. Oops, sorry. You know what I should do? Spray some of this. See what I mean? Yeah, I should have sprayed it with that silicone spray first. That really helped. All right, we're just gonna give this a little bit of twists back and forth. See if we can't break the bond between the metal and the hose. And if you want, you could even try using a screwdriver to like slip down beside it, just to like break the bond, but be careful not to stab the hose. We don't want to be replacing the hose. Let's try with these things. All right, yeah, that's the trick. Okay, this is gonna puke coolant all over the place, so you might want to put some sort of catch can or something, or a drain pan underneath to catch all the coolant. Another thing you could do here is just to, you could put maybe some hose clamp pliers or vice grips or something like that on there. Yeah, this thing is cooked on there. And it's tucked up in there. You can't get your hand in there. Be nice if it just came off though. Like a regular hose. Come on. It can't be on there that tight. There we go. Okay. Just leave that there. Let's do these 3 bolts up here right after we get this unplugged. Little locking tab, we push that down, it's white in color. You can see, oops. Boom. Set that aside. 10 mil bolts, let's get those out. I love how they put hoses in there. All right, we're gonna start trying to move some of this stuff out of the way. I got this tube here. We just push down on either side here and on the back. And hopefully get this thing to come off. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of set that over there for now. And then, see, we're trying to get, I'm gonna unplug this sensor too, move this wire, but there's our Torx. But, yeah, maybe if I can move this out of the way. Just unplug this. See that? We just lifted out on that connector. And then up. And now we've kind of got some room in here. Except, once this gets on here, that Torx is a E10, by the way. But once we get that on, we're not going to have a whole lot of room, are we? I'm going to have to try to sneak in there. All right, guys, so I can't really fit any sockets in there on this right now because this neck's in the way. So let's pop this up and remove this quick release hose. Once that's out of the road, maybe now I got some more room I can get in there, possibly. Let's try again. All right, so we got the E10 Torx, and I also got a swivel, and that seems to have bought me enough room to get this bolt out. I'm sure there's a third bolt, guys. It's probably hidden underneath where we can't see it. Yeah, there's definitely a third bolt. Guys, so the last one is down here. So it's basically where this is, but below, underneath of this thing here. So we've got this set up here. So if you're about to do this at home, I recommend getting some nitrile gloves or latex gloves. This coolant's real slimy. It's gonna get on everything and pretty nasty stuff. So. Almost there, guys. Have patience. Hey guys, so there we go. I'm guessing this third bolt that was out here is also supposed to be an E10 Torx, but maybe somebody broke it off at some point or something like that. Anyhow, the reason I wanted to just undo that and leave it to the side was because I didn't want to have to undo all that stuff, but I had to undo all that stuff anyways. This connector down here, or this clamp here, would have been a real pain to get to, right? And get that hose off of, so I'm not even worried about it. Now's the time where you might want to change the thermostat if you're in doing this, especially if it's run out of coolant. These things get cooked, and I mean, for how cheap they are, just put one in. Anyhow, all right, so we're out of there now. Next thing we need to do, basically just start unbolting all these bolts that hold this thing on. And it looks like they're all E10 Torx as far as I can see. So what I'm gonna do is actually just grab a box. I'm gonna take our new thermostat. I'm gonna trace out a picture of it, punch a bunch of holes into the box. So as we take these bolts out, we can set them in the picture. And that way we know which bolts go where. Because I don't know if there's bolts that are longer and shorter and where they're all supposed to go, or maybe they're all the same length. We're about to find out. Guys, we got the pattern traced out here. You can see this is where this thing is. And yeah, we're just gonna start buzzing bolts out and placing them in the holes that I've made. So first one we're gonna do, let's go down here. So this one is gonna be this. Sorry, it sits in there like that, basically. And we'll just work our way around, basically. That's all we're gonna do. Okay, what do we got? Two. Let's do the far one away. Do the closer center one. Love the water in the tools, eh? Really need to get that water separator installed. Damn, I didn't think they were. Alright, I'm just gonna get a little pry bar. You see this tab over here? Might even be able to use a pocket screwdriver, but might break it. Oh yeah, we need pry bar. Okay guys, so we pull that off. Like I say, just watch out for these sensors. We don't want to break that off. So here's our pump, and all we're gonna do now is just clean up the mating surface. You can see all this red gasket sealer that comes applied to this factory steel gasket. And we just need to prep that surface and dry it off. And then we're gonna go ahead and put in our new pump with the new gasket. All these bolts, by the way, they are all different sizes and threads on them. You can see this one's threaded all the way. It's pretty long. This one's only threaded a little bit. It's even longer. Got little short ones that are threaded. So very important to keep track of how those bolts go in. So like I say, draw a picture, punch some holes in a box, the best way to do it. And yeah, let's get this cleaned up. I'll be right back. All right guys, so I'm just using this little angle grinder, and I've got these roll-off cookies. They are 3M Scotch Brite, and this one's for cleaning steel, I believe, but it works just fine for aluminum. Now you could use a razor blade or some emery cloth if you wanted. I find emery cloth is a little aggressive for the aluminum, but something like that, just to get this gasket material off. This stuff works pretty good. See how nice that cleans it up, and it doesn't even really score the aluminum at all. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get all the surfaces cleaned up nice. Okay guys, so I have marked out the bolts And you can see I've got two different colors here, and the reason for that is because there are some bolts that pass through the water pump that hold the front cover on, and then there are some that just hold the water pump to the front cover. So all the ones that are marked in blue pass through the water pump and hold the front cover on. All the ones marked in red hold the water pump onto the front cover. So we've got our gasket here. This is just a paper gasket, and a little different than the steel gasket that originally came on the car, but that's okay. This should work just fine. Completely up to you whether you want to put a little bit of silicone behind this or not. I think I am just going to put a little bit of RTV on both sides just to be safe, because I don't want to have to take this thing back apart. But once I get this glued up and ready to go, we're just going to basically set it on there, and we're going to start all of our blue bolts first. And that way what we can do is then tighten those down, and I'll tell you in a minute the torque specs for all these hardware and also the sequence that we need to do them in. As we are using copper RTV, this is the orange stuff, and it's good for high temp, oil proof, everything pretty much. So I'm just going to go ahead. I try not to put too much on, even though I think I overdid it a little bit here, but that's okay. No, not to worry. Just basically schmoo that on where the gasket's going to sit and give us a little bit of extra sealing protection. All right, that looks good to me. Slap this bad boy on there. Press it down into place and get it nice and stuck onto the surface. Try and line the holes up the best you can. And then what I'm going to do is actually just put a little bit more on this side too. Try to scrape off any of the edges in there. All right, guys, so we're gonna try to line this up. I'm just looking in here, looks like we gotta go right here. And I just wanna get these started by hand. We don't wanna tighten them down just yet till we get all of them in there. Okay, I think that one goes there. Yeah, it does. And then this one goes down here. Okay, so now we're starting all the red ones. Down here. Here. And this one goes right in the center. And the last one we have goes up in this corner. Okay, now I'm just going to snug those down. They all get torqued to 71 inch-pounds, so not very much. And it says to do it in a multi-pass sequence, so you're basically just going to crisscross to the bolts, and you just basically go over them until they have all reached 71 inch-pounds. I'm going to do the blue ones first, which are the front cover bolts. And then once those are all torqued down, then we will do all of the red ones, which are the water pump bolts. And like I say, once again, all of the fasteners are torqued to 71 inch-pounds, as well as this water neck here that has the thermostat in it. Those 3 bolts, which I looked up, are all supposed to be E10 torques, by the way. Those also get torqued to 71 inch-pounds. So that's the number of the day, 71 inch-pounds. All right, I'm gonna grab my little 1/4 inch air ratchet and we'll buzz all those in. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's down here. All right, now we're going to torque those. All right, guys, those are all torqued down. Now we're going to just run those red bolts down now, which hold the water pump to the front cover, and we'll proceed to repeat the procedure here. All right, now we're ready to torque those 71 inch-pounds. All right, now I'm just gonna run back over these blue ones just to triple make sure. Got a little bit of movement out of that one, a little out of that one, a little out of that one, a little out of that one. Yeah, so we're just gonna keep running over these until they all click down. And now we'll do red ones. All right, guys, so I don't have a new gasket for down here on this thermostat housing. It's supposed to be replaced every time you take this housing off. So I'm just gonna put some of this silicone on here and we're just gonna send it. But obviously recommend you get a new one, but completely up to you. All right, we're just sticking this on here. We'll get these bolts started in here. All right, let's torque those down now. All right, guys, that one's torqued down. Now we're ready to basically put all this mess back together with the lines, and then we'll just basically continue on in reverse of how we took it apart. All right, so this thing gets plugged in, right? And this goes on. Perfect. And then let's see, this plugs into here. That's locked in, good to go. This thing goes on here. Boom. That can go into there like that. Good. And now I think we're ready to put this hose on. Now, I thought I might have stabbed it when I was taking it off. So I was debating on whether I should just cut about an inch off of this. See, I think I'm gonna clean this hose off real good and take a look at it in the light. All right, guys, so I didn't really see anything. Maybe I was just tripping. And now we're just gonna put this on. Okay, we want to try to line that clamp up back to where it was. Because it's a tension clamp, we want that to sit back in the grooves that are pressed into the rubber from where it was sitting for a super long time. That way we get the maximum clamping force and load distribution across the hose to prevent leaks. If you want, you could probably just throw that clamp out and put like a gear clamp on or something like that. It might hold better, but just a little tidbit of information. Now, I think the next move is to install our belt tensioner. So you can see, look how greasy this thing is. There's our bolts there. I remember when I took it out, it sprung this way a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see if this is going to be a fight or not to get it back in. Let's see. Does this go here? No. It goes here. And the mount goes above it. So let's get this in. Let's see if we can get this in here. Everything's so greasy and covered in oil, guys. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you see how that little nib sticks out at the very end of the tensioner? It needs to go over the block. And then, so here's what I found probably works best is start the bolt down there. And then once you get it threaded in most of the way, then you can sort of compress the tensioner and slide the bolt in that's up here. Because the one that's at the bottom, it starts threading immediately. And the one up here, it's like the bolt has to protrude through the cover into the block. So at least you can get the bottom one started, shove the tensioner in there, and then stick the bolt into the hole and start tightening them. So that's the way to do it. All right, so apparently I'm an idiot and we didn't even have to take the tensioner off. It was just, everything was so greasy, I was like, it probably has to come off, right? Like every other car I work on, but no. But in case you take yours off, the bottom bolt is 16 foot-pounds and this upper one is 41. So we're just gonna set this up here, 41. Also, there's a procedure for the, oops, sorry, that was not even the right bolt. It's getting late. There's a procedure for removing the tensioner and like how to preload it so that it doesn't spring open, including using a punch through a hole somewhere. So, but anyhow, we did it without that. So let's go with, where did I set that other socket? Right here. Down to 16 we go. Beauty. All right, so that's torqued up. Let's put this other pulley on. Just sits on there like that. And we line up our holes. All right, guys, so these get torqued down to 16 foot-pounds. And all I'm gonna do to hold these in place so that I can keep it from rotating is I'm just gonna grab a pry bar. And we're just gonna stick it in here like that. Perfect. All right, those are all torqued. I'm gonna wash all the pulleys off to get all the coolant and oil off of there, even though the belt's already gross, but we should always do that just so that it doesn't get all contaminated in the belt. The belt's gonna slip, it'll squeal. It's not good for the belt, so let's get this washed off. We can put the belt on, and we can start putting the motor mount on. All right, we're just hitting it with some soapy water. Around that, over this, over that, around that. I'm just gonna hold this. Wrong way. Okay. There. Okay, we just double check and make sure that our belts are all seated properly on all of the pulleys, and they all look good. So that's I'd say that's successfully installed. Let's put this motor mount back in. Okay, we get these all hand started, and then I'm just gonna get in there with the little air ratchet and buzz those down, and we'll torque them up. All right, guys, so all three of these bolts, they're all torque to yield fasteners, which means we're going to do a 45 foot-pound torque followed by 45-degree rotation. Now, these bolts are a one-time use bolt, and you gotta throw them out every time you take them off. I got a good difference. right, guys, now we get this. Now, what we want to do is just start these body mount bolts. And the ones that go to the body are going to be 46 foot-pounds. And the ones that go to the mount here, these 3 ones, they are going to be 36 foot-pounds plus 70 degrees of rotation. Also, torque to yield bolts, one-time use. Take them out, throw them in the garbage. So just a forewarning for those of you that may want to try to reuse them. Not saying that you can't do that, but I'm saying that you shouldn't do that, but completely up to you. If they snap off, I told you so. All right, I just got the motor jacked up there, and we're just getting these kind of started down here. I'm pretty much just going to buzz these ones down to the body, and then we'll torque everything afterwards, and we'll do the ones on the body, then the ones on the motor mount, and then torque everything. Now, what I'm going to do before I tighten those down completely is just lower the jack down. You can see, or sorry, I may lift the engine up a little bit. You can kind of see how the angle of it, plus we want to try to line this up the best that we can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we want to try to get it close, right? Okay, and then 36. All right, and then these 3 here, 70-degree rotation. All right, and that's how you do that. So now let's move on to putting the air box in. Okay guys, so I'm gonna spray this down and try to give that a little spray there. Also, we got another one up here, right? Make sure that all of our rubber grommets line up. The silicone spray really helps these go in. Without it, you're kind of fighting the rubber and everything's just really tight. So there we go. Everything goes inside. Oh. All right. Okay. Okay, and we just gotta tighten this guy down. All right, let's get some coolant in this thing, and we're pretty much done. All right, guys, so we plugged this thing in here. This is our vacuum bleeder. So we shut this off. This is where our fresh coolant's gonna get sucked into. All right, so I may need to pinch this overflow off. So I cannot pull a vacuum on this thing, and if I remember correctly, this one may have a crack in this overflow tank. It's pretty common on these things actually, but we're just gonna fill it up the old-fashioned way. So I'm just running it right now. We want to get this thing up to temp so the thermostat opens, because it'll be inside the engine block where the water pump impeller goes. It's full of air in there right now, right? And the thermostat is closed. So right now we're filling up pretty much to the thermostat, but we want to get the engine hot so the thermostat opens and then it purges more air. Got to get all the air out. All right, there you go, guys. Now the thermostat pretty much just opened. You can see how the coolant temp's rising up. It's burping air bubbles. And yeah, basically just gonna let it run for a little bit longer. With the cooling system open like this, we actually lower the boiling point. So we could actually boil the coolant if we leave it for too long, but we don't want to do that. I just want to make sure that there's no more air bubbles. And then we're just gonna shut the car off, take that off there, put the cap on, and that's pretty much it. So if you have any questions, throw them in the comment section below. Give the video a thumbs up if this helped you. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.